You know that feeling when you pull into your driveway after work, you put the car in park, and suddenly you realize you have absolutely no memory of the last 20 minutes of driving?
Oh, yeah. Like highway hypnosis, right?
Exactly. You were just, a body going through the motions. Now, I want you to take that eerie, sort of numb sensation and apply it to your entire life.
Wow. Okay. That's a heavy start.
Right. But think about it. Waking up, answering 100 emails, scrolling through feeds, eating dinner, going to sleep, and never actually being, present for any of it.
Yeah, it's this unsettling reality of functioning entirely on autopilot. I mean, you were physically alive, but internally you're just completely checked out.
Yeah, and the source material we are looking at today goes so far as to compare this exact state to being an extra in a zombie movie.
A zombie movie, really? That's quite an image.
It really is. So, welcome to this deep dive. Today, we are exploring a really fascinating set of notes and excerpts centered around a framework known as the 16th gene key. And the mission for our deep dive today is to trace this incredibly profound transformational path. We're going to explore how human beings can move from that state of total zombie-like indifference, break through into this dynamic state of flow called versatility, and then ultimately arrive at true lived mastery.
And before we jump all the way in, we should probably clarify what a gene key actually is, just because the terminology can sound a bit like, I don't know, science fiction.
Yeah, good point.
You should think of it less as literal biological DNA and more as, well, a psychological and archetypal blueprint. It's really a map of human consciousness.
I like that, a map.
Exactly. And the 16th gene key specifically outlines how we handle our own potential. It maps out why society currently defaults to this emotional numbness. And it offers a really practical blueprint for how we individually break out of those deeply ingrained patterns.
So, to you listening right now, if you have ever felt trapped in a routine that, pays the bills but leaves you feeling completely numb, or if you've ever felt boxed in by the modern demand to just specialize in one tiny area of life, this deep dive is going to speak directly to you.
Absolutely.
This framework offers a radical and honestly refreshing way to look at how you operate. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do.
We have to start at the absolute bottom of this transformational path. In this framework, the bottom layer of human behavior is called the shadow frequency. And for the 16th gene key, that shadow is indifference.
Right, because if we want to understand what true mastery looks like, we first have to dissect the trap that almost all of us are currently stuck in.
Yeah.
And the source material begins this dissection with a really bold philosophical baseline. It basically asks, what actually makes us human?
And the text gives a striking answer, too. It
Yeah.
argues that to be human is to possess the ability and the innate tendency to overcome indifference. Humanity is essentially defined by the active state of caring. Caring for the people around you, caring for the environment, the future, and just deeply caring about the present moment.
Which leads to a fairly ruthless logical conclusion.
Yeah.
I mean, if humanity is defined by caring, then indifference, that active choice to not care, makes us inhuman.
Wow, yeah.
The text actually states that until you can feel the empathy you were born with, you aren't really fully alive. You are operating as an automaton.
Hence the whole zombie comparison.
Exactly.
But the obvious question is, why do we default to this? If caring is our natural state, why is society so profoundly numb? The source identifies the core dilemma of this shadow state, and the word it uses is laziness.
And we need to be really careful with that word, because it is not referring to physical laziness.
Right.
The text isn't talking about someone, lying on the couch refusing to go to the gym. It is describing a profound emotional and spiritual laziness. It's the active refusal to look inside our own hearts and do the heavy lifting of processing our emotions.
So if we are constantly refusing to look inward, it must be because we are just terrified of what we're going to find in there. I mean, is it just a fear of our own unresolved pain?
Well, it is the pain, yes, but it's also the sheer scale of it.
What do you mean?
When you look inward, you don't just find your own localized stress, right? You connect with the broader suffering of the whole world. And because that feels so heavy, people retreat.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they use their busy schedules, their emails, their daily routines as a shield. It takes immense internal discipline to stay awake to the world, and most people simply opt for the easier route of numbness.
And the text points out that this isn't just an isolated individual failure either. It introduces this concept called the ring of prosperity.
Right.
In this framework, A codon group, like the Ring of Prosperity, is essentially a metaphor for systemic sociological conditioning. It dictates collective behavior across huge populations.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Because human beings are biologically wired to find safety in numbers, we basically end up adopting a collective numbness. We are all indifferent together.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you can see the sociological conditioning everywhere. I mean, if nobody else in your corporate office is bothering to look deeply at the ethical implications of what your company does, why should you?
Exactly. You just put your head down.
Right. And the text uses the blind pursuit of wealth as the prime example here. Society has normalized indifference in the name of economic growth.
Yeah.
We see this with environmental destruction.
And the chilling part of the author's analysis is that the people responsible for massive environmental damage, they aren't like cartoon villains twisting their mustaches.
Yes. No.
When you look at them, they're just normal people. They have kids, they go to Little League games, they have the exact same everyday anxieties as the rest of us.
Right.
But they don't question the destructive nature of their industry because nobody else in their immediate bubble is questioning it either.
It's the ultimate manifestation of the shadow. And underlying all of this collective laziness is just a single driving force, and that's fear.
Fear of what? Exactly.
Yeah. There is this deeply ingrained fear that if you actually open your heart to life and allow yourself to truly care about the state of the world, you will simply drown. You fear that the empathy will completely overwhelm your nervous system.
Okay, I have to challenge this framing of laziness, though.
Okay, go for it.
Because for the person listening to this who works 60 hours a week and is just completely exhausted, being called lazy feels like a bit of an insult.
Sure, yeah.
They feel like they are doing everything they can just to survive. They think, I don't have the battery life left to care about the ecosystem or my deeper spiritual purpose. But the text argues that staying in that safe, numb lane is actually what is draining their battery.
That is the core illusion of the shadow state right there.
Really?
Yes. The text explicitly states that the human heart cannot be overwhelmed in the way we fear it will be. When you open it to the chaos and the suffering of life, it doesn't shatter. It actually expands. The real tragedy of the 16th gene key is this vast, wasted talent. People with immense potential just burn themselves out, maintaining that heavy armor of indifference. They ignore their own genius because their fear keeps them emotionally stagnant.
So how do we break out of this? Because the text is pretty blunt and it says no one is coming to rescue you.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You have to initiate the breakout yourself. And the mechanism for that isn't some magic trick. It is the conscious choice to stop reaching for distractions.
Right.
The next time you feel that deep, uncomfortable void, instead of doom scrolling on your phone or, working another hour, you just sit with it. You face the pain.
And when you do, a breakthrough happens.
Yes. And that breakthrough catapults us into the next phase of this journey, which the text calls the gift frequency, which is versatility.
This is where the human experience becomes incredibly dynamic. When you finally stop fighting your own emotions and your heart begins to thaw, there's a massive shift in how you use your energy. Here, the text introduces a really fascinating and, somewhat counterintuitive distinction regarding laziness. We just talked about the heavy, sluggish laziness of indifference. But in this gift phase, you develop what the author calls a powerful laziness.
Okay, I have to admit, powerful laziness sounds like the ultimate excuse to just slack off.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if someone is just kicking back, ignoring their responsibilities, and calling it a powerful flow state, aren't they really just avoiding hard work under some spiritual guise?
It's a great distinction to make. But the text is very clear. The powerful laziness is not an avoidance of effort. It's the absence of friction.
Oh, okay. The absence of friction.
Right. Think of it as absolute efficiency. In the shadow state, you are dragging a boulder uphill. You need massive, exhausting effort just to get through a Tuesday.
God, I know that feeling.
We all do. But once you break through into the gift frequency, self-discipline ceases to be a chore. You still do the work, you still show up, but the nature of the discipline changes. It feels relaxed. It's the difference between forcing yourself to study a textbook and losing track of time because you are just so absorbed in a subject.
That effortless flow is what creates versatility. The text defines this versatility as being multifaceted-like, the ability to seamlessly transfer your talents and insights across a wide variety of fields. Which brings us to the concept of the polymath.
The polymath. That's a term that really defined the Renaissance. It describes a genius who dedicates themselves to higher knowledge across a vast spectrum of disciplines.
Right.
We are talking about individuals who cultivated physical excellence, artistic brilliance, and high intellectual understanding, all simultaneously.
But the author argues that the polymath has been systematically killed off by modern society, which is just another symptom of our collective indifference.
No, sadly.
Modern education, particularly at the university level, demands this rigid specialization. You are basically forced to pick a lane and stay in it.
Exactly. The modern approach dictates that the only way to be valuable is to be highly specialized. But the text argues this makes us dangerously myopic. We become experts in isolated fragments, completely losing sight of the broader mechanics of the world.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because the way we educate people right now, it's like training someone to be the absolute best flute player in the entire world, but forcing them to practice inside a soundproof booth.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. They know everything about the mechanics of their specific instrument, but the text proposes an alternative called holographic learning.
And what does that look like?
Holographic learning is basically taking off the headphones, stepping out of the booth, and realizing your flute is actually just one small part of a massive symphony orchestra.
That analogy captures the mechanism perfectly. As a polymath, you might start by specializing in the flute. But as you look deeply into it, you begin to see this holographic truth. You realize the mathematics of music apply to architecture, which apply to physics, which apply to human relationships. As you advance in your learning, you actually become less specialized and more universally fluent.
And this holographic learning requires way more than just raw brain power, too. The text notes that the polymath synthesizes the heart, the body, and the mind. It's a three-pronged expansion of intelligence, IQ, EQ, and CQ.
Yeah.
We all know IQ is intellectual and EQ is emotional. But EQ, spiritual intelligence, is defined here as the practical understanding of interconnectedness. It's the intelligence of meaning, knowing exactly how your small actions ripple out to affect the whole system.
And this versatile holographic thinker is exactly what the modern world requires to solve its crises. Because the source ties this directly back to that systemic ring of prosperity we talked about earlier.
Right, the corporate greed stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
True prosperity in the 16th gift is completely divorced from hoarding wealth. You can only truly prosper when your versatility is used to help others and to help them with absolute systemic integrity.
So, if you are stuck in your soundproof booth playing your flute, you might think you are helping the symphony, but you are actually out of tune because you can't hear the whole.
Precisely. To serve life is to deeply understand that interconnectedness. The author envisions a future where polymaths step up to lead in business, science, and education.
We really need that.
We do. We need leaders who fuse feminine emotional maturity, that deep empathy in perfect harmony with masculine intellectual drive. They serve a vision that flows not from a desire for profit, but from an open heart.
Okay, so we have moved from the emotionally paralyzed zombie of indifference to the brilliant, frictionless, multifaceted polymath of versatility.
Yeah.
But the evolutionary path doesn't stop there. What happens in that open-hearted, versatile flow isn't just a fleeting state you visit, but actually becomes your permanent foundational reality.
That is a big question.
Right. That brings us to the absolute peak of this framework, the highest frequency, which is known as the siddhi.
Right. The word siddhi comes from Sanskrit, roughly translating to realization, attainment, or a sort of ultimate perfection. For the 16th gene key, the siddhi is mastery.
Mastery.
Yeah, and it's a very heavy, loaded word, and the text immediately sets out to dismantle everything we think we know about it.
It totally calls out the cultural stereotype. I mean, when most of us hear the word master, we picture a guru with a long white beard sitting in a cave in the Himalayas, completely detached from society.
Exactly.
And the text points out that our concept of mastery has traditionally been incredibly male-dominated and based on isolation.
The source asks us to completely wipe the slate clean here. Let's look at the logic. If the shadow frequency was indifference, the ultimate state of numbness, then the ultimate opposite, mastery, must be a state of extreme radical sensitivity.
Wow, okay.
A master does not detach from the world. A master feels absolutely everything.
Which leans heavily into feminine archetypes. The text describes the master as an ultimate receiver, like an open vessel. But it's a paradox because it takes that extreme, vulnerable receptivity, the yin, and marries it with unshakable focus and presence, the yang.
What's fascinating here is how the text explains the internal mechanics of reaching this state. During the gift phase of versatility, Your heart is basically in a gym working out.
Doing reps.
Exactly. It opens up, it takes a hit and gets hurt. It retreats and closes, and then you have to do the work to open it all over again. The text describes this as carving yourself into being. But mastery is attained when you finally understand the foundational trick.
Okay, wait, the trick. What is the actual mechanism of that?
The trick is the realization that armor is heavier than vulnerability.
Armor is heavier than vulnerability.
Yes. You realize that constantly monitoring the walls around your heart is what exhausts you. Your heart softens to such an incredible degree that it simply absorbs whatever hits it. You accept vulnerability as your ultimate strength, and because of that, you never have to waste energy closing off again.
And because your heart is permanently open, you aren't just mastering a specific skill anymore. You aren't a master painter or a master architect. The text says you become a master of the art of living well.
The author actually breaks this art of living down into 3 practical components, the 3 P's: purpose, partnership, and prosperity.
Okay.
When your deep sense of meaning, your deep connection with others, partnership, and your holistic contribution to the world, prosperity, when all of those are integrated seamlessly, you are exhibiting mastery.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate for a second, because the text makes a massive claim here.
Yeah, sure.
It says, this state of mastery is meant for the completely ordinary human. It is not found in an ashram. It's found at the grocery store.
Right.
But if mastery is just being an ordinary person, going unnoticed, doing everyday tasks, isn't that just a fancy way of settling? Like, if someone abandons their ambition to change the world and just says, hey, I'm a master of my ordinary life, isn't that just a convenient excuse for mediocrity?
It is a really critical pushback. But the text vehemently separates mastery from settling. Think about the grueling internal discipline required just to get past indifference in the first place.
Yeah, that's true.
True mastery requires immense, continuous strength to keep the heart open in a world that is constantly giving you reasons to close it. It is not about abandoning ambition. It's about shifting the source of that ambition.
Ah, shifting the source.
Right. You aren't seeking external validation or a fancy title anymore. You are emanating a jewel-like frequency. Living an ordinary life, paying your taxes, raising kids, interacting with neighbors while keeping a permanently open heart is arguably the most extraordinary, difficult thing a human being can achieve.
They become a master of ordinariness.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the final and really most grounded section of this deep dive. If mastery is found in the everyday, how does it actually manifest? Specifically, how does a person operating at this level handle the single most precious resource a human has: time?
The text draws a very sharp contrast here between the versatility phase and the mastery phase. When you are a highly capable polymath, you appear very special to the outside world. People demand your time, you gain worldly power and influence.
Sure.
But the text warns that external influence is not inner power, and it is certainly not real prosperity.
Right, because real prosperity, according to this framework, lives entirely in the micro details.
The micro details.
Yeah, the text lists them out to paint a picture. It's noticing a weed, pushing through the pavement, truly seeing the smile of a child, the quiet joy of giving someone your last bite of food. And individually, I mean, they sound like greeting card cliches.
They kind of do, yeah.
But strung together as a continuous state of awareness, they equal mastery.
This raises an important question for the listener, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Where exactly are you investing your awareness?
Yeah.
The source insists that true wealth is dictated by where your attention goes. If you invest your awareness in the inessential office politics, social media outrage, the pursuit of status your life force literally drains away.
It makes me think of human attention as a financial portfolio.
Oh, interesting.
Think about it. From the time we are kids, society teaches us to meticulously hoard our money and invest it carefully for the best return.
Right.
But when it comes to our attention, which is the actual currency of our lived experience, we just carelessly throw it away on manufactured busyness. We treat our attention as if it's infinite, when it's really the most finite thing we have. This text is arguing that your true wealth is determined by the exact things you choose to look at.
To illustrate this mechanism in real life, the author actually shares a very vulnerable anecdote.
Oh, I love this part.
It's great. He explains his own routine of waking up incredibly early to write. He cherishes that pre-dawn silence. It is his most productive, focused time before the chaos of the household begins.
He is totally in his flow state.
Exactly. But then, his young daughter wakes up early. She wanders into his office and climbs into his lap while he is trying to work. And the author is faced with a choice.
And he could easily ask her to go back to bed so he can finish his important work, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. But instead, he realizes the mechanism of mastery in that exact moment. He realizes he must physically close the laptop
Wow.
because, as he notes, these fleeting moments of pure connection are the actual substance of life, and they will be gone forever in just a few short years. He writes, "No power in this world should come between that sweetness."
I want to read the author's exact quote here because it really synthesizes the whole framework. He says, "When life calls you to your mastery, it calls you out of your indifference, out of your busyness, out of your laziness."
That is the mechanism of mastery in action.
It
It's
is.
the ultimate distillation of the 16th gene key, the willingness to halt the externally important work, to decisively close the laptop and simply be entirely vulnerably present with his daughter. That choice, made over and over again, is the jewel-like frequency. That is what true wealth looks like.
So what does this all mean for us? We began by dissecting the shadow of indifference, that pervasive zombie-like state where we are just too emotionally exhausted and too terrified of the world's pain to actually feel anything. We explored the active process of breaking through that numbness to reach versatility, where we utilize powerful laziness to become flowing, multifaceted polymaths who understand the holographic reality of the world.
Yeah.
And finally, we arrived at the city of mastery. It isn't found in isolation on a mountain peak. It is found by an ordinary person who has learned the profound trick of keeping their heart permanently open, discovering ultimate prosperity in the quietest, smallest choices of everyday life.
If you are listening to this and wondering how to start, the text leaves you with a bracing reminder. No one is coming to save you from your own indifference.
That's all on you.
You have to push back against the cultural conditioning yourself. And if you feel a voice in your head saying you aren't strong enough or ready enough to do that inner work, the text calls your bluff. It insists you're simply making excuses because you are intrinsically born ready to live this way.
You were born ready. That is an incredibly empowering truth to carry with you.
It really is.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final practical thought to mull over. If mastery is ultimately defined by exactly where you invest your finite awareness, take a hard look at your calendar for the next 24 hours. Look at your daily routines. Are you blindly investing your life force in the inessential busyness of the zombie shadow? Or are there laptop closing moments hiding in plain sight, just waiting for you to notice them and finally wake up? Keep questioning, keep exploring, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.